Welcome to the ISO Show, dispelling myths and sharing tips for success to improve your business with ISO standards, with your host, Mel Blackmore.
Hi and welcome to the ISO Show. Well, today I'm delighted to be joined by Mark Frudd, who's the Managing Director and Founder of TriplePs. We're going to be talking about ISO 27001 and his journey to implementing an information security standard, and also about dispelling some of those myths around the ISO standard, how he's managing it, and what were some of the challenges, but also some of the things that they've actually got out of it as a business that's helping them to grow and expand even further. So just to give you a bit of background, TriplePs was established in 2007 by Mark, who's a cybersecurity expert. And he basically brought together his experience in delivering high-profile public sector projects, along with his entrepreneurial spirit. So Mark started TriplePs as an innovative SME, which was dedicated to problem solving for businesses of all different sizes. From the outset, Mark has been committed to providing unique security and software solutions that don't break the bank while meeting the needs of both the client and the end user. So, Mark, hello and welcome.
Good morning, and thank you for the very kind introduction, Mel.
Great, no, you're welcome. Before we begin, could you tell me something about you that not many people know?
Oh, being in security, there's lots of things that I can't really say and I can't really tell. But I think one of the things...
Understandable.
One of the first things is that grounding. I started my grounding in dealing with public, working in Butlins and learning so much about people, behaviour, traits, drinking, not drinking, and basically how to actually work hard and play hard.
Great, sounds like fun.
It was very long hours, but it was very, very good. Really enjoyed that.
Work hard and play hard, that's my motto. So yeah, I bet it was a good foundation for life in general as well.
Oh, as a youngster, being out there, being away from parents, always good.
Yeah. Great. Well, I know obviously I provided a bit of an introduction to TriplePs, but would you mind just giving us an example of the type of work that you do then, please, Mark?
TriplePs, well, there's so much that we do that not a lot of people know about. But what we have tried to do is bring what we've actually learned over many years to the SME marketplace. Working with such as large corporates, Vodafone, Sodexo's, Ministry of Justice, just a few of the large names that we actually work with. And we wanted to actually dispel some of the actual myths. And we've provided a lot of real complex solutions, but we've learned an awful lot along the 11 years that we've actually been operating. And one of the big things for us is IT and security doesn't have to be expensive. You can make it expensive, but we never like to be involved with something if we don't have benefit to it. That was the core ethos around this. And being able to actually deliver something quickly. So we have been involved with so many projects, but 2 years ago we started and we went back to basics and we looked at security and we looked at where we wanted to be. And we actually wanted to level the playing field and the actual market for SMEs so that they could actually compete and start to actually work together more collaboratively. After some of the issues we've actually seen is this there in cyber with Sony, the man in the middle attack, it involved a lot of SMEs and sort of other areas like that. And now everybody's talked about cloud. But a cloud, how secure is cloud? It's down to the decisions you actually make right at the beginning. So we set off 2 years ago and started to actually simplify the whole process. And what used to take us effectively 3 months to build now takes 27 seconds.
Wow.
I've just spotted. And now with the new product set we've actually got, we are able to provide a managed laptop and a tablet and a mobile phone that actually ticks all the boxes for security, enables the individuals, it makes a difference on the company size. Could be 1, could be 250, the approach is exactly the same. but it levels the playing fields, making sure that you've actually got the Office 365, you've actually got the tool set, you've got Teams, you've got collaboration, you've got all of those in one box for a very, very small amount of price. Very, very competitive. But that's what we set out to do, and that's where we are now. And it's all based off learn once, deliver once.
Excellent ethos. So you're already clearly a successful organisation, and you've got fantastic client base. So why ISO 27001 and why Blackmores?
There's been a change over the last 3 to 5 years critically within government and within the SME marketplace. And with the adoption and the changes around security classifications, if you have a look now at any procurement within any sector, it's around NIST or it's around 27001. Okay. And they provide the clear direction and provide the standards that enable business growth and development. And just around the Blackmores, we looked, to be honest, for the last 3 years, we went down the ISO 27001 and we tried to actually do it ourselves. But it's very difficult because what you try to do, the growth actually brings more complexity. And every time you try to actually develop the framework, then you get caught out by either changes in government, changes in security, or changes in your business. And that's one of the large problems we actually faced. So we went out and we were looking for a partner, and we partner. We don't have clients, we don't have suppliers, we partner because the partner relationship brings a lot more. And we went out and literally Blackmores was selected because of his size. And it was really, really a good fit for TriplePs and also some of the actual clients that Blackmores had actually worked with.
Okay, great. So could you explain what your role is at TriplePs then? I know that obviously you're managing director, but what's your role in relation to information security as well?
I am a CIRO, okay, so I'm a Senior Information Risk Officer for TriplePs. I'm also the Managing Director. I am a geek by nature who was actually doing the MD role, okay, and I am constantly being pulled away from the actual coalface because the actual business is growing. And it's interesting because one of the things I actually did learn going back to Butlin was to actually simplicity and being able to actually talk to individuals at different levels and turning things from complex to simple. And in effect, that's what I actually do. I go out, I look at what actually needs to happen, the problems that's actually out there. My phone is constantly ringing with issues where people have actually got issues in IT or cyber or contract. And we actually try to actually help wherever we can. But my direction is changed as well from the bridge view because I am now on the bridge. I'm not only the boiler house, as my fellow experts will actually tell you in business growth and development. And trying to actually keep away from the boiler room, keep on the bridge, is always an interesting time because you just want to get back to the coalface, and I am constantly firefighting that. But it's strategic leadership, the actual growth and the development. That's my role now.
Okay, I think I'd like to come back on to the strategic growth because I know that that's an area that's kind of really taken off since you implemented 27001. So we'll come back to that if that's okay, Mark. But just going back a stage, could you just share with us the process of that undertaking for the implementation of 27001?
It was an interesting one because the team that I've actually got have actually worked in government, there's universities and there's various ages, okay, and experience. And in essence, we threw everything away and started again. Because once we actually started to actually really take on board, and this is the other thing where people say, how do you manage ISO? You don't, you adopt it. And as soon as you actually adopt it from the top down, that's when you really get the actual buy-in, and then that's when we really get the actual change. But looking at every single part of the actual business and really understanding, we thought we understood what we actually did and how we did it. And broad speaking, yes, we did, but we didn't know the detail. And as soon as you actually start looking at the various parts of ISO and you actually adopt it, you look at the risk, you look at the management, you look at the financial aspects, you look at the supplier relationships, all of it, that's when you really get the benefit. And in essence, I would say that we've achieved something around 47% reduction, process reduction, where we're actually able to automate what we've actually done. Very much like what we actually do for clients. We've been able to actually do that and then really see the benefit from the ISO standard around the actual costs, but also around what it actually enables in growth as well.
That is really significant. So that's 47% reduction. That's unbelievable. And is that by kind of taking a step back, looking at the business? Because you said you almost kind of started with a blank sheet of paper. So obviously very knowledgeable and experts on what you deliver, but in terms of actually managing the overall operations of the business, in terms of looking at improving efficiencies, as well as obviously embedding security within those efficiencies. Can you just kind of share with us an example of how you did that?
Over the last 11 years, TriplePs has grown 7 times. We've reinvented itself 7 times. IT changes, the actual client base changes, the technology changes. And if you're not careful, the ISO gets left behind. What you've actually got is this pile of papers that you actually think by just adopting and adhering to these standards that you created many years ago, in actual fact is a good fit. And we tore that up and we went right back to the actual very basics around what we do, how we do it, who does it, and the actual benefits to it, which then enables to actually cut our overall process and the policies and the guidance we actually did. And we were actually left with around half of what we actually had. Because with 27001 changing and all those changes, you just leave it behind. And you've actually got this big document register. And in actual fact, unless you actually go right back to the basics and say, what do I really need? Okay, then in actual fact, you're never really going to get 27001. 27001 is around understanding your business and guiding your business and developing your business at that point in time, not where you were 3, 5, or 7 years ago, in essence.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. And I think, as you said, getting the what, where, when, how, why of your business and where you're heading in terms of the future direction as well, that's so much more valuable to a business than just kind of purchasing, I don't know, a 4-page encryption policy that doesn't have any meaning or value to your business. In fact, it's just there to kind of trip you up, really, and confuse people. So it sounds as though you've taken a really refreshing approach to implementing ISO 27001 and embracing it. And as you say, adopting it. It's not just a case of implementing it, it's a case of adopting it into your kind of day-to-day working life within the business.
It's a cultural adoption. If you actually think about ISO, every decision you actually make, you think about ISO. If you do that, you live it, you breathe it, okay, and you actually develop with it. If you actually put it into we'll actually review it once a week, you're already out of date, and culture is actually behind it. And when you've actually got a business that's actually growing dynamically that big, it's really got to be at the heart of your business. Otherwise, you've failed before you've even started.
Yeah, one of the things that made me laugh, but I absolutely loved the quote that you gave. When I can remember when you first got the certificate and we had a call, didn't we? And you said, yeah, well, actually, I think everybody realises now ISO isn't just for Christmas. It's not just a one-off. Yep, great, you've got the Christmas card or you've got the certificate. It's actually the way that you operate your business, isn't it? And I love that quote.
So true for many different organisations. And trust me, because I've been there, you'll be looking at ISO as an annual task. You'll be looking at it as a task you actually do every quarter, and then 6 months, and then 9 months, and then you've actually got an amount of money to actually cover it. Okay, that's the way I used to look at it. Now I look at it totally different. I look at it as to, you live and you breathe it. And when you actually start to do that, that's when you get to the next level. And just ticking the box, believe you me, the accreditors are not silly. The assessors are really, really not silly. They understand that, the difference between real adoption and ticking the box is in the detail. And the more you actually think about ISO and develop your business in line with ISO, the more substantiated approach and documentation and information you've actually got around everything that you actually do. And it becomes an awful lot easier as the business grows as well. Because when somebody comes into the business, you can actually just say, there you go, have that. And if you bring in a lot of the Office 365, the automation pieces that we've actually got, Teams, the notes, allowing the automated pieces and the recordings around there, that simply makes things a lot easier.
So you mentioned earlier about future plans and strategy. So clearly TriplePs is a dynamic organisation that's evolved over the years and continues to do so. Could you just talk to me a little bit about 27001 and strategy and how 27 may have shaped your strategy, if it has at all?
It's an interesting one because TriplePs has actually helped enable some of the changes and the strategy changes in government. And for us to actually then feed into 27001, it's been an interesting rollercoaster ride, to be honest. From a business, and this is one of the key changes from the SMEs is into the larger corporate government clients that we've actually got. Because people see 27001 as something that if you actually want a big government contract, right, then you actually need to adopt 27001 year to have it. Okay. I would say that's not the case. Way back when, in 2007, in August, that's engraved in my day, 27th of August, 2007, okay, when we actually started with TriplePs. If 27001 was available then, I would have actually done it at that point in time. I'll tell you why. Because it's simply from an adoption perspective, and you can actually develop and growth more strongly than without 27001. From a strategy, it's actually helping us actually feed into the SME market around the product sets that we've actually got. So the portal that we actually created is actually based around 27001. So when we've actually done our automated deployment systems, and we've actually done the actual laptop devices and the managed services we've actually done, we've actually taken the 27001 and put it into a portal to provide to the other SMEs. So as the clients actually start to engage with our services, they will start to actually adopt 27001. So in there, you've got asset management, you've actually got reporting, all the normal things that you actually need to help with 27001 and provide a good foundation are actually in the portal to actually assist the client. So part of our strategy is not just to actually grow the business using 27001 as a tick box. It's around enabling the sustained growth in the SMEs. It's a communication and the investment in the time with the SMEs so that they can actually then collaborate and then start to actually do more work with us that way.
Great. So it's not just the internal benefits, it's quite far reaching then in terms of your products, the services, your clients. So it really does include all sorts of different types of stakeholders then.
It feeds into the new reseller program because one of the things in the evolving IT on-premise is basically dead. And anybody that's actually not looking to innovate within IT, surely they're starting to become unstuck. We've actually seen that. And cloud basically is like Pandora's box. It actually allows some real automation. It allows some real investment. And it allows SMEs to really go for the larger contracts. But to do that, they've got to have a good foundation, which is 27001, so it feeds straight through.
Cool. So just looking back then, if you were to do this all over again, not necessarily running the business, but implementing 27001 on your journey, what would you change, if anything at all?
Oh, interesting question. So the first thing I would actually say is don't try to do it yourself. Select the right partner for your right business. You will actually waste resource time. You'll waste the actual money that's involved with it. But most importantly, you'll waste your time that staff have actually got. Because the overheads on 27001 on the staff adoption really detract from your business. Okay. And taking time right at the beginning to actually do that meant that we would have actually got a more continued growth. Instead of the small hockey stick that we've actually got, it would have been a larger hockey stick. That's what I would say. But it's down to having the right partner at the right time at the right price. If you do that, then you will really, really gain the benefits from 27001. Trying to go to market and trying to actually get and pay for some resource that's an expert in 27001, they're with you for 12 months. or they're with you for 3 months, 6 months, or however large your business is. But in essence, when you actually look at the correct partners, such as Blackmores, then what I would really say is they're actually in it for the longer journey. Yeah, it's just not the short-term fix. That's what would change differently.
Yeah, I think it's good to look at the longer term prospects as well, isn't it? Not just kind of the initial, getting through the assessment. And I can remember when I think Steve Mason, one of our consultants, was working with you, you did already have, in theory, a lot of the requirements of 27001 already in place. And it was just kind of like really that kind of coaching, guidance and working in partnership with you that just helped to kind of bring that all together really successfully. And I know that you flew through the assessment because you just had everything in place. You were so confident about the system as well and what it can deliver.
Well, this is one of the first things that Steve actually said to us. Do you really need all that?
Yes.
And that was the first comment, okay? Because we'd actually got this big document register. And then as soon as you start to cut through it, in actual fact, no, we don't need that. Which then brings the time down. But it also means that you focus on what's important and not on whatever you're going to do, because you've got an overhead of managing policies and processes you will never actually use. Whereas if you actually, Steve's real approach was, you've got what you actually need, focus on that, okay, and deliver the quality around that. That's the most important.
And well, one of the questions I was going to ask you next was actually going to be about the benefits, but I think you've already mentioned one there, which is cutting out a lot of the, excuse my French, crap. Because a lot of companies have that baggage, they have that documentation not because you needed it, because you think you need it for a tender or whatever, and it looks good, but actually, what's it helping with? What's it actually doing for you? So I think that sounds as though that was one of the benefits, straight kind of within the first half an hour. But are there any other benefits that you've experienced through this journey?
The big benefit is that you think you know 27001, but you don't. Because it's the changes over time with 27001 that really catch you out. And your documentation, and the big one between 2013 and the previous versions around the documentation and how you actually present the information, that's the big one. I mean, our ISO originally, IS1, was based on IS1, IS2. So when the government changed all to the actual baseline security around that really had a big effect to us. And that's one of the reasons why we actually delayed continuing on the 27001, because we're waiting for some clearer guidance in the security and what was happening with that. And there's also so much out there at the moment when you talk about security around the different adoptions with the different agencies and all of that. Once again, that impacts into 27001. So this is why it's really important that you find a partner that understands the business, understands what you do, and understands who you actually work with, because then it all comes together.
Excellent. Okay, I think that's pretty much it. But before we go, I'd love to find out if you could gift a book to somebody, what would it be and why? It doesn't have to be related to ISO 27001. Don't worry about that.
Oh, if I could gift a book, what would it actually be? Oh, Harry Potter, Chamber of Secrets. I just love the book.
Classic.
I just love being able to actually totally get away from everything and then choose how many times you actually read the book, you actually find something else or a different interpretation. And that's why I like some of her work.
Yeah, I used to love reading that book to my daughter when she was younger. And it was one of those books, sometimes at bedtime when you think, I'll just skip to the end of the chapter and they won't realise. I didn't want to skip to the end of the chapter because it's so well written. Yeah, I'll probably need to go back and revisit those, but they're a bit older now and probably not interested in bedtime reading now they're doing A-levels, but there we go. Lovely. And do you have a favourite quote that you'd like to leave our listeners with before we go?
I would just go back to the one that ISO said to yourselves, ISO is not just for Christmas, because that one statement really, you actually get it. You get ISO is there every single day. Think about it. And, that's a punchy one that you can just put out to staff. And as soon as I said that, staff got it, quite simply.
That's a great one. Yeah, definitely. I'm going to put that quote in the show notes. Brilliant. Oh, thank you so much for your time today, Mark. I really appreciate it. I've really enjoyed chatting with you about your ISO journey and finding out a little bit more about the organisation and sharing all your hints and tips with our listeners. If our listeners would like to find out a bit more about TriplePs, how do they get in touch with you and find out more about your business?
You can actually log on to www.triplepsltd.com. And just because I know people are actually going to say, what does TriplePs stand for? We used to be PPP, TriplePs, Private Public Project Solutions, all those years ago. Yeah, it's a common long way we're actually asked. We've been asked TPS, Ps, TPs, we've been also. www.triplepsltd.com. You can have a look at that. Or we're actually on Twitter or as LinkedIn. What I would say to anybody is, don't be shy. If you've got any questions, there's no such thing as an idiot question. The only idiot question is the one that's not asked. So if you actually want any information, or if we can actually be a benefit on your ISO journey, okay, not just products and services, but ISO, just reach out. I'm happy to help.
That's great. Thanks so much, and Mark. Thanks once again.
Thank you for your time, and very nice spending some time with you.
Great. So if our listeners would like to find out a bit more about TriplePs, the contact details for TriplePs will be in the show notes on our website at www.blackmoresuk.com. And you'll also be able to get access to all our other ISO show podcasts on there, which feature ISO 27001. One in particular is Steps to Success series that I think you'll find really interesting if you haven't heard it already. So I think it's episodes number 13, 14 and 15, if I remember from the top of my head. So it's one from a while ago now. But please do check that out because we do go into a lot more detail about how you can implement ISO 27001 if that's of interest to you. So thanks once again for listening, and I look forward to catching up with you on the next ISO show.
Looking to use ISO standards to drive better business practice? Contact us at blackmoresuk.com to access further information and book your free 15-minute call.